what culture is. So there's lots of definitions, but I like John Cotter's definition, a group of norms, behaviors, and underlying shared values that help keep those norms in place. Everyone in an organization participates in accepting the norms and behaviors and helping to keep these norms in place. So frontline employees participate as well as middle management and top leaders. And your culture is perfectly designed to get exactly the results that you're getting. If there is fear in the culture, leaders are doing something to hold those norms in place. And we have to identify where the fear is coming from and why it's continuing. This is one of my favorite quotes of all time. It comes from a book called Leaders with Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud, and he writes that culture is created by what is tolerated and what is promoted. So what do we tolerate or allow? What do we promote or reinforce, either consciously or unconsciously? I've witnessed some very interesting and enriching conversations about culture among leadership. I've heard things said like, we allow employees to bully each other. We are a brutal culture. No mistakes go unnoticed. We are perfectionist culture. It's hard for people to want to make change because it's not perfect. So these are all things that give us insight to what is tolerated in the organization and what is promoted. So the roadmap helps us have these building the roadmap helps us have these enriching discussions and hopefully helps you build an 18-month plan that incorporates the 4 floors of the shingle house. But there are definitely some inputs. We don't have time to cover all of the inputs on this webinar, but we can at least speak to them very quickly. And these are inputs that we typically want to see when you're building a roadmap to transformation. You want to have a cultural vision. You want people to have an idea of where they're headed. And most people can't answer that in an organization. Where are we headed? Everybody can answer who are we and what do we do, but they often don't know where we're headed. So this is a really important piece. Reflections on the culture. How are we doing right now? What are we allowing? What are we tolerating? These are things that we definitely want to make sure that we're discussing and really even discussing some of the behaviors and the norms that we're holding in place. Leveraging our strengths. So once you identify what your cultural strengths are, what are you going to do to leverage those things? It's easy to focus on what's not working, but we have to focus on what is working too, so that we can continue to see success with that. And finally, you need to address the gaps as well. So once you identify the strengths and the gaps, leverage the strengths and address the cultural gaps. And that could be hard because that means sometimes we have to change. And people sometimes don't like change. But once you have all those inputs, then you can build a cultural transformation roadmap. Here's